What's going on, y'all? This is Greg with Greg Said It. Back with a special Friday video. Mainly Thursday was 4th of July. A lot of things going on. Shout out to B. Watts. We took off for this Thursday episode. And I just wanted to catch up on some things. I kind of insinuated. My last video, I talked about the North Dakota State video and how, you know, it's just really interesting that they want to play that game. And that same day, the rankings dropped for the Big 12 and Colorado being ranked 11. And I kind of mixed that in there. I just had to say something about it. Like, it was just interesting. And I tied it together because it's one common thread. It's the disrespect and the undervalue of Colorado. That's really what we're seeing here. But at the same time, I really wanted to kind of tap in on this. And I know it's going to be something I think it's only going to heat up more and more. We're going to have our live on Sunday. Probably even have some snippets of that in there. Because a lot is coming out. And like I told you all, just because Colorado's not practicing, you know, the boys are on vacation and things, that don't mean this thing is not going to heat up. There's one thing about Colorado to keep the news going. Year-round, off-season, breaks, it don't matter. And this is just one of those things. And Colorado really going to have to put it up on the field because the disrespect is real. People try to think, oh, it's just Pac-12. Oh, Big 12 love Colorado. Da-da-da-da, you know, all that. But when you put Colorado at 11th, now it's not 12 teams. It's about, I don't know, 15, 16. They don't call themselves the Big 16 or whatever. But it's the Big 12. No longer 12. They brought 1, 2, 3, 4 teams over from Pac-12 and added to their Big 12. And a couple teams left. I think UCF came over. You know, so we got, it's teams coming over. And it's no longer the Big 12. It's more than 12. But even still, to put Colorado 11th, I don't care if it was 20. It's a great sign of disrespect. People try to justify this like, oh, they're looking at last year's roster. I don't care what they're looking at. Nobody can be that dumb. Your conference is not that dominant. And maybe they are using last year as an example. You know, Colorado didn't finish it at the top. They finished at the bottom of the Pac-12 with some helping hands. And that's what I don't like about it. You talk big, beat the person on the field. Don't do all that cheating and all that underhand stuff. If you got it like that, beat them on the field. Don't be doing all that sneaky calls, making close games out of reach, you know, all that type of stuff that they typically do to make Colorado barely lose by a touchdown, 6 points, 7 points, 3 points, whatever. Because we've already went over this over and over again about the close game. Oh, it could go either way. With the other games you won, that's cute. But the reality is they're more likely to win than lose in those situations. Colorado team was last year's team. Most of them boys are gone. The issues that they had, they gone. The offensive line, there was Ole, most of them gone. All of them gone, really. A couple left, and they wasn't necessarily the ones. And they not necessarily the starters this year. Then you look at the coaches, the coordinators, you didn't like the play call or the scheme. They're gone. So for you to throw it in the lap of this year coach and make it like that's their problem, that's not their problem. That's last year coach problem. That's last year players problem. But if you say I'm going to use the ranking, okay, that's cute. It's going to make this an interesting season, to say the very least. It makes it a lot more something to look forward to. It makes you want to root for Colorado even more. Because for you, they already don't respect you, the Big 12. They treat you like the step child. You know, now that the Pac-12 gone, it's like you the new Pac-12. It's like, oh, you just want, you know. They don't even disrespect the ACC like they disrespect. Really. ACC ain't hitting on nothing. But you don't really hit them throwing stones at ACC. Everybody's over there. You got an easy schedule. That's all they say. they're going to go undefeated because they got the easy schedule. But when you look at the Big 12, it's like you might get one team in the playoff. And when you over there in that type of environment, Texas gone, Oklahoma gone, and they still put you at 11, you can look at the rankings. They got everybody over you except the Cincinnatis and the Baylors, people like that. Maybe even the Arizona State. But the teams that you really are better than, they kind of got a few of them over you. They even got TCU over you. You whooped TCU last year at their place. And they even disrespect you with TCU. It's weird. So what's their real logic? What make you say TCU isn't ranked higher than Colorado, even though Colorado already beat them? What's your justification? What's your logic, really? When you look at it, they got everybody over them. Texas Tech, they got everybody over them. But then when you go look at their all-conference, Colorado has representations on the first team, all-conference on both sides of the ball. Yet, most of the teams that they're ranked around don't. They have several guys in the rest of the second team, third team, fourth team, for whatever that's worth. They have these guys on these preseason rankings. Got a couple All-Americans on there. And that's not even including the Shador. You ain't yet recognize him as an All-American. He's considered the top 1 and 2 quarterback in the country. And you ain't got him in it. You know, I haven't seen much as far as All-American mention him. I guess they put in other quarterbacks who's not better than him above him. But they did give him first team all-conference smartly. But yet, he's first team all-conference and no other offensive players are on the list with him. Like I said before, it's the dumbest thing ever. I guess he's throwing at ghosts and shadows. He's throwing to himself. He's going to be first team. He's considered to have a production of a first teamer. And he ain't got no other offensive player on that list with him. I don't even know if he got him on the second team, as far as offense is concerned. We know Travis Hunter is going to be out there, but they got him on the defensive side. They've given no respect. Yet, when you look at different rankings, Colorado has one of the top offenses, probably top 10, I believe, in the country. The defense is top 20 in the country. Even ESPN has put them in the top 20 in the country. The only other team on there that's above them, which I don't really respect, but I'm gonna be like, I might have to get out there for that. It may be cold. Utah. The only team that they put above Colorado, ranking-wise from ESPN, whatever they use, is Utah. But the Big 12 found a way to put 9 other teams above Colorado. The other people put Colorado, where they ranking it, Colorado would be technically second. Then everybody else kind of come in the mid-20s and above. Colorado was like number 16, 15, 16, something like that in the country from what they're ranking them. But the Big 12 going to rank them as 11th, which means all them other people is ahead of Colorado according to the Big 12. Again, I don't know what it's worth. I don't know what it means. But Big 12, we've been real nice to Big 12. We've been throwing elbows at North Dakota polar itself. We've been talking junk to everybody, and we've been really nice to the Big 12 because Big 12 kind of been out of it. This ain't the first time I've seen some raggedy rankings. I just thought they got some senses because I think I seen something similar to that earlier in the year, and I thought that maybe Big 12 had come around. But for them to put Colorado 11th, that means it's 10 other teams in the conference better than Colorado. So let's say, you say Utah. You say Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State. That's only a few right there. That's considered the big dogs. Where the rest of them coming from? You got UCF over them. You got Texas Tech over them. That's 2 more. That's 6. You don't put Iowa State, West Virginia. This came out the ACC. Really, ain't never really been in on that. That's 2 more. That's about 8. We just digging for teams. I think they even might have put BYU over them. We just digging for teams to say they better than Colorado, whether they play them or not. Arizona. You only really got a handful of teams that you're saying is not better than Colorado. So you're treating them like the Pac-12. Now, the thing about the Pac-12, and I know they're not taking all this into consideration, but the thing about Pac-12, they all was kind of chipping at each other. Now, two stood out supreme, and they battled Oregon and Washington. But Washington had some close calls. People talk about how Utah had a close call with them, but then Utah had a lot of close calls with the other teams. They all was nibbling at each other's ankles. For people who run their mouth don't know nothing about the conference. Even Stanford gave, Oregon? Stanford won't hit on nothing. Colorado blew them away, then let Stanford come back. But even Stanford gave a close game. I think it was Oregon or USC. Everybody was giving each other a close game. I think Washington State gave Washington a close game. Washington State record was barely better than Colorado. They beat the mess out of Colorado. It was very tripolar. It was all over the place. And when you look at that conference, it was no, even though the records may have showed, it was a lot of close games between some odd matchups. It wasn't just like, oh, this team really getting me. Oregon State gave some people some tight games. Arizona in the back end gave some people some tight games. Arizona State, every now and then, gave some people some tight games. It wasn't like they just got all blew away. So Colorado wasn't playing like, especially on that back end when they kind of fell apart, they wasn't playing low-level teams. At that point, everybody they were playing at the end were ranked by that point. UCLA was playing decent ball at that point. Arizona was playing decent ball at that point. Oregon State was playing decent at that time. Utah still had their rank. The only team I think lost their rank was the similar team to them was Washington State. They was doing well. They was ranked at the beginning and they kind of fell off like Colorado. But everybody they played on that back end outside of Washington State and Stanford was considered a top 20, top 25 team. So, and yet none of them blew them away. The only team that slipped away from them was Washington State. And we know Utah stole the game. For whatever reason, they needed to steal that game. They claimed they didn't play. They was already in the bowl game. They say Colorado could have slid in with one more, and they literally took that game out their hand. They didn't beat them. And you say you know anything about football, you was a straight clown. If you say, ain't nothing about that game Utah won. Everything about that game that Utah got was given to them by taking points off the board. That game wouldn't even been close if Colorado had been able to get their points. It wasn't no errors in them. Travis did not step out of bounds. He did not fumble the ball. And there was no crackback on Dylan. It was all them was, there was 3 touchdowns that disrupted the momentum. They did nothing with Colorado. Offense was moving. The defense was playing good. It's nothing about that game was logical or realistic. Nobody can tell me nothing about it. You just, it ain't like Utah performed. They gave Utah that game. Like they needed it. And then Utah went and got whooped in the bowl game. And they say players didn't play this, that, and that. But you had to take the game from Colorado to do that. Colorado already had a losing season. They was already done. They took the game from UCLA. They put Shiloh out. That game was chippy and nippy to the very end until they pulled away at the end. And you really look at all those games like that. Oregon State, Colorado was really controlling that game. Arizona, same way. But that was at the back end. That's with injuries, quarterback limping. And none of those games, them guys really dominated Colorado. But we use these record as a reference. Like, oh, they just so far ahead of Colorado. Colorado was very put together team, especially at that point. And you barely beat them. And you had help from your refs. How dare you act like you just gonna just beat them this year, like it's just sweet. And you can just say, oh, they gonna be the 11th. This team is way better than last year. Is it on paper? No. People so ignorant. It's not paper. It's called the production they're bringing in that they didn't have, in positions that they didn't have it in. They actually got people who can rush the quarterback and who has produced it. Not on the scout team. Not potentially. They have produced it to the point where these guys are coming over and they're getting ranked, and they're getting ranked in the country for their pass rushing ability. They're getting preseason recognition. So you can't sit up here and say that's paper. That's foolish. They just want to talk. What you're really looking at is they have production in areas that they struggled in, which was putting pressure on the quarterback. And they have production in areas where they need it, which was not blocking for the quarterback. Now, you can say the linebackers on paper, you can say that. But that's going to be a difference too. So all the areas that really made those games possible for them to lose, that's what you're failing to realize. It was only possible for Colorado to lose because the quarterback got sacked 50 times, and you still barely beat them. And that's not even including the pressure. I did the stats. About 80% of the time, the man was either getting hit or pressure. So you take that away, you really got a problem because you beat him by 3 points, 7 point, 11 point, whatever, and he hobbling and he ain't getting blocked for it, and the lineman twerking and letting the man run by him, and y'all still barely beat him, and you had the audacity to think, oh, it's sweet. Man, y'all deserve to have a long season picking at them like that. Because that team there, like he said, was only a handful of players in some key spots to fill in some gaps to being 7-5, 8-4. Easy. And you take them referees off the field, they could have been closer to 7-5, 8-4, really. Because they got some very decisive calls in all them games that they lost. Stanford, UCLA, multiple. Arizona, multiple calls that were very suspicious and questionable. It wasn't like, oh, that was clear. Every last one of them games they lost at the end. Utah, multiple. Keep playing with them. Go right ahead. I'm just Greg. Greg said it. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. And, of course, we'll be talking real soon.